back to the channel, The College Process. Once again, I'm Ed from Principia Prep, and today we're going to be going over when college admissions turns into a nightmare, the Reach School List problem. But before we begin, if you are new to the channel and are looking for additional college content, please hit the subscription button down below. It will notify you when new videos do come out. As well as if you have any comments or questions throughout today's video, please leave them down below in the comment section. I do answer all your comments and questions you guys put on the channel and the videos here. As well as if you do enjoy today's video, please leave us a like. It does help the channel. Also, we are still running the James Russo Memorial Scholarship for this year's senior class of 21-22. If you want to be eligible for it, or if you also want to help us supporting the channel by increasing the scholarship amounts for this year's senior class, very simple. In the description down below is the video link to watch to basically explain how the whole thing works. As well as also down in the description down below is also the organization's Venmo, as well as our buy us a coffee if you want to help support the channel, allowing us to keep making these college videos for you guys out there. And all that being said, let's jump right into today's video. When college admissions turns into a nightmare, the Reach School List problem. Now, as juniors and sophomores essentially start putting together their college list, kind of figuring out what schools they might want to apply to or visit and so on and so forth, families have to make sure that these lists make sense. And I emphasize the word family here. Because while it is a student applying to the college and them going off to the university and basically taking the time there to do all the work and everything else, it's the family, the friends, the relatives, the community essentially that help support that student, both emotionally, financially, and so on and so forth. Not only helping them get into the college, but also obviously as they're in the college, transitioning into adulthood and everything else, and making it through the whole college process here. And for the support, i.e. the family, has to make sure that the college list from the beginning makes sense. And for those new to the whole process, let me just give you a quick understanding of how it works, essentially the basic fundamentals of putting together a college list. First, right off the bat, you have Reach colleges. Now, when it comes to Reach colleges, these are typically the schools that are more difficult to get into. Sometimes the acceptance rates are less than 20%, sometimes they're less than 10%. Sometimes the schools are really difficult to get into, extremely hard Reach schools, like a 5% acceptance rate or less. An example of this, a really difficult Reach school, is Harvard University. So obviously that's a Reach school for no matter which student's applying to that college, whether they're the brightest student in their school, the brightest student in their state, the best SATs, the best ACTs, etc. It doesn't matter in some cases. Harvard's very difficult to get into. Then the next level, after the other Reach schools, you drop down to target schools. Target schools are essentially what I consider 50-50 schools. We have a decent chance of getting into, but not a guaranteed chance of getting into, but they're kind of in the middle there between the very hard schools, the Reach schools, and then the safety schools. And then the safety schools are essentially the guaranteed ins, the schools that essentially anyone can get into based on their academic situation. So obviously putting the school list together can be done with the help of the guidance office, your Navion system, Power Schools, College Board, CapEx, and a few other things you have with you. But typically I like to utilize the guidance office, the college advising offices you guys have at the high school to help you guys put that list together to figure out who are the Reach schools, who are the target schools, and who are the safety schools. Now that we have that out of the way, so everyone kind of understands what we're going to be talking about here today, let's jump into what I mean by the nightmare situation that I see every year from some students' lists. Now let me explain what I mean by the difficulty or the issue that most students have with a nightmare situation they put themselves in the Reach school category. Now when it comes to Reach schools, there's essentially two types of Reach schools. Most people just think the Reach schools are just difficult to get into, but the reality is there are two types of Reach schools. There's the attainable Reach school, and then there's the impossible Reach school. Now let me go back to the Harvard example to give you an idea how this works. Here are the average SAT scores, the average GPA, and a couple other criteria here for Harvard for students who've gotten in last year. Just to give you an idea here, essentially what they're looking for, let's call it. Now when it comes to Harvard, if you're in line with these different things, if your SAT score is at this level or above, if the amount of AP classes you're taking or IB classes are in line or above, or if your GPA is in line or above, then this essentially, even though it's Harvard, is a potential Reach school. What's not a potential Reach school in this situation for you is if you have one AP, or one IB course, or one dual credit, and all honors courses, or no honors courses, or if your SAT score is 1100 or 1200, or if your SAT score is 25 or 26, this is not a Reach school possibility. This is an impossible possibility that is not going to happen. And of course, as parents, we want to help our students out and let them apply to any school they want to, so on and so forth. And I get that to a certain extent. And I hear a lot from families and students and parents and so on and so forth that, well, someone has to get in. And the answer is yes, someone will get in. Unfortunately, it will not be your student. This is not like the lottery. This is not everyone has a chance here type situations here. What you need to realize is if you guys put schools in place for the college list that do not make sense because they're impossible to get into, you're setting your student up for failure, essentially. This is essentially what you're doing here. And it's a very big deal, not just from the perspective of, okay, we applied, we didn't get in, we don't care. You have to realize there is a path ahead of you before the application even gets reviewed. Things you will have to do to even have a chance to get into reach colleges, not just the potential reach colleges, but also the impossible reach colleges. A lot of stuff's going to have to be done in senior year and before senior year to even get you on the path to make this possible. And I mean a lot of work and a lot of money. And you need to think about it from this perspective. Do I want to put in 6 to 9 months of work as a student and a parent? Do I want to put in thousands of dollars into this, maybe even tens of thousands of dollars into this? Because let me explain to you what typically happens when you have all reach colleges on your list. Right off the bat, you're going to have to do a bunch of tours to show demonstrated interest. It's going to the school, meeting the reps, doing the tours on campus, doing the open houses, the college fairs, seeing the representative when they come to your high school. If they're doing any college fairs nearby, you have to be there. If they're doing any Zoom meetings, you have to sign up. Your student has to be on the Zoom meeting. So right off the bat, this is a starting point of the amount of work you need to do going forward. You'll also have to do, for a lot of these schools, unfortunately, the alumni interview. Whether they hold weight or not, you have to do these for demonstrated interest. On top of that, still staying with the theme here of the student more than the parent really, for the student, you'll have to write not only the main essay for the Common App or the coalition and the applications, you'll also have to write supplemental essays for these schools. Some of these colleges require 2 supplemental essays. Some require 4 supplemental essays. Some reach colleges, believe it or not, will ask you for 6 unique, specific essays just for that college. Some of these essays are 200 words, some of these essays are 600 words. You could spend literally a week or 2 just working on Reach College, one Reach College essay, which you may never get into. After doing all that work, the essays, the extra applications, the demonstrated interest, the open houses, the college fairs, visiting the school, the Zoom meetings, so on and so forth. Now let's go to the parent side of this. You guys have to take them to all these tours, to all the open houses. You guys have to spend all the money on the college advisor, people like me. The essays need to be worked on. You have to make sure you have the right resume in place. You have to make sure you have right to community service, volunteer work, leadership, so on and so forth. Then you have to hire essentially the SAT tutor, because now SATs are coming back in the mix when it comes to admissions. So there's more money you're spending on the SAT tutor, the ACT tutor. And if the scores aren't coming in, you just keep putting more money into it. And this is where it all kind of comes to a head, to be honest with you. After you've done all the demonstrated interest, the tours, the visits, the Zoom meetings, after you've worked countless hours with the amount of work that the college advisor is going to put on you, because as a college advisor, to provide assistance, we're going to make you work as a student and as a parent. So you're going to be doing a bunch of work from the college advisor on top of a bunch of work for the SAT, ACT tutor. On top of, you have your senior classes, which, by the way, if you're looking at a difficult reach level school list, you're going to have to add more APs. You're going to have to add more IB courses, more dual credit courses. We may even ask you as an academic advisor or even a guidance counselor to basically advise you if you need to kind of have a chance at these reach schools. You're going to have to maybe take, in some cases, summer courses. So you go from junior year, no summer break, right into college courses, either at community college or local college. Then right after that, right back into, maybe a couple days later, right back into senior year, where you have to get straight A's essentially in the AP courses we told you to take, the IB courses, and the dual credit courses. So you got to go, let's say 6 to 9 months here is what we're talking about. So it's a lot of work here if you're looking to add impossible schools to your list to even give yourself a shot, to be honest with you. So now, December rolls around, and all of a sudden, before Christmas break comes, you get rejection after rejection after rejection after rejection after rejection because of the fact that you are not academically within the range of getting accepted to these schools. Now, I know a lot of families, like I mentioned before, think someone's got to get accepted. And the answer is yes, someone will be accepted, but they don't care, just being totally honest with you here, how good your essay is, or how much community service you've done, or volunteer work, or how bright your student is in the realm of that high school. If they do not have the right credentials from the get-go, more than likely admissions officer is never going to look at your application. I'm just being honest with you. It will likely be filtered before it gets to them to see, does this student have the right academic track, the right rigor of their schedule? Do they have the right GPA? Do they have the right SATs or ACT scores in place before we even pass it on to the admissions rep of that region to give that an opportunity to see, can we let the student in or not? So all the essay stuff you've done, the thousands of dollars you spend on a tutor, the thousands of dollars you spend on a college advisor, between the airfare, the gas, the hotels, and you have to do multiple essays that have to be reviewed by college advisors and everything else, and the SAT people and everything else, ACT people, you're going to spend a lot of money here for very likely a never going to happen situation. And I hate to be the bad guy here and telling you this, but the reality is there are 4,000 colleges plus out there. There are many universities and colleges out there. There are schools for your student. But if you elect to just say, we're only going to the top 5% of schools for this major, or we're only looking at the Ivy League and that's it, we're not looking at anything else, and your academics are not in place, it's going to be a brutal winter. Because of the fact that after you get all these rejections, then Christmas break comes, so you have, let's say, a 2-week period where you're just mulling over and second guessing and wondering, what did we do? Because now you've missed a bunch of application deadlines for a bunch of other schools that your student could have applied to. Now, it's perfectly fine to apply to REACH schools. I have no problem with that. Also, if you're looking at it from the perspective of, if we get rejected, we're fine with it, it's okay, as long as you have multiple schools behind that. So if your list is, let's say, 10 schools, and of those 10 schools, 8 of them are all the Ivy League schools, or schools that have a 10% acceptance rate or less, and your student does not meet any of the criteria academically for these schools, then it's not a good list. It's not going to work out. You do not want this to turn into a nightmare. And I see this happening all the time, where everyone thinks someone has to get in and someone will get in. But if you're not academically there, it's not going to work, and it will turn into a nightmare. I'm just telling you this from 25 years of experience. That being said, if you need help with the list or you're not sure how it works out, I do have my contact information I will provide you in a moment. But if you have any comments on this video about anything that I've talked about here today, just leave your comments down below. I do answer all your comments, questions you guys leave down below in the comment section. As well as if you do enjoy today's video, please leave us a like. It does help the channel. As well as on the screen now, you see my contact information. If you have any questions, any concerns, if you need help with the admissions or the financial aid process, just reach out to me. That's my cell phone number. The easiest way to reach me, by the way, is text message. Second way is email. Either one of those two, I get back to you within a day, so it's very quick to do a one-on-one meeting with you guys if you need help. All that being said, thank you for watching today's video. Once again, my name is Ed Zamora from Principia Prep.